Bank of America is 33. Their logo is 3 11s, adding to 33. Aldi sounds like all die. 1 2 3 1 2 3 33. There are 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Water goes from a liquid to a solid at 33 degrees. The 33rd degree of Freemasonry is when one becomes illuminated. Maybe these corporations are using hidden teachings to their advantage. I'm not claiming anything, I'm just pointing out the symbolism. Let's clear some things up about the planet Saturn and its relationship to the deity Satan. We need to understand the term as above, so below. As above, lightning is the same structure as brain cells. Lightning is the macrocosm, the big. Brain cells is the microcosm, the small. But they carry the same structure, which means the universe is fractal. The big is reflected in the small. As above, so below. The macrocosm of the 7 planets would be them influencing and shaping the energy on the material plane. On a microcosmic scale would be you. You hold the 7 planetary forces within your own consciousness. For example, we use Mercury, our intellect. We use the moon, our emotions. We use the sun, our actions. We use Saturn, our time. You see what I mean? These planetary forces are literally aspects of your own consciousness, as well as energies outside you as well. As above, so below. As within, so without. Therefore, the god Saturn represents anything that limits and restricts us in life. For example, time. Time would be a restriction and a limitation that we possess in the material world. Therefore, it's governed by Saturn. Saturn rules the material world because the material body is a restriction for consciousness. Consciousness is infinite and limitless and has infinite potential. You can be anywhere, anything, anytime in your mind's imagination. Saturn is anything that obstructs us, that keeps us, holding us back. This could be a negative belief, a negative thought, a negative emotion. This is why Satan is linked to the god Saturn. But this does not inherently mean Saturn is evil, because we learn and overcome these obstructions and gain wisdom from this. Hence why Saturn is known as the master or the great teacher. However, in today's world, Saturn's energy is abused, and when Saturn's energy is unbalanced and abused on people, people become very limited, which is limiting the mind, keeping people in low consciousness, keeping people bound by laws. Man-made laws are governed by Saturn. Anything that restricts and holds back consciousness is symbolizing Saturn. This is why we see Saturn symbolized in many religions, because religion is a form of restriction on consciousness, keeping the mind limited to a certain belief system. So just remember, nothing is inherently evil. It's our mind's perception on how we give it a positive or negative charge. Everything is neutral. It's how we perceive it. Baphomet has some shocking symbolism. It's not what you think. At the top we have the fire element. The wings of the Baphomet is the air element. Here we have fish gills, which represents the water element. And at the very bottom we have the earth element. Fire, air, water, earth, representing the 4 bodies of consciousness. Fire spirit, earth body, air mind, water emotion. Fire spirit, the higher mind. The goat, the animal lower mind. Do you live in the higher mind or the lower mind? Is the moon emotion controlling you? Or are you standing on top of your emotions' control? This is not the devil. It's a symbol that's been demonized to make you not look into the details, because this is a symbol of your consciousness and how it's operating in the higher mind or the lower mind. Jewish people did not create the Star of David. They've made you scared of this sacred symbol. The upwards triangle represents the structure of how fire creates a triangle. The downward triangle represents how water falls down. The sun is fire, masculine. The moon represents water, feminine. This symbol represents the unity of feminine and masculine forces of consciousness. Lining the masculine and feminine brains together allows you to see reality for what it truly is without illusions. Your intuition is feminine, your actions are masculine. When you align these two, it unlocks you and takes you to your life purpose and guides you towards the light, higher consciousness. This is not a Jewish symbol. It's a symbol of unity consciousness. But like everything, you can use symbols for good or bad. LGBTQ has some shocking symbolism. Notice how their flag is the inverted color spectrum. Red comes first, low frequency, up to violet, high frequency at the top. Everyone has an etheric energy double, which is the etheric life force energy which feeds the physical body life. This is what we call chakras, 7 vortexes of consciousness. Red chakra, low frequency. This is survival mode. This is when one identifies only with the physical self. Crown chakra, violet, high frequency, is the connection with the divine and pure consciousness. But notice this is inverted, with red on the top, symbolizing identifying with the physical body, which is exactly what the LGBTQ is. You are not the body. This is why you say this is my body. It's a possession. You control the body. You are pure consciousness controlling this piece of technology. Pure consciousness is not female or male. But when you are the LGBTQ, you are identifying with the body, the root chakra on the top. This is just another tactic to keep your soul attached to the physical world and the physical body. And if you die with your consciousness addicted to the physical plane, then you will This will blow your mind. The word NASA rearranged is Satan. The word NASA in Hebrew means to deceive. But what are they deceiving you on? They are hiding the truth about what the planets actually are. What if I told you the 7 planets are 7 forces of consciousness that create physical reality? The 7 colors of light create white light. But this is where things get crazy. If we look at a tree, we can see 7 categories of creation, 7 forces that go in to create this structure. Mars, god of the war, is symbolic of the defense mechanism of the tree, how the tree defends itself. Saturn represents the root system and the base of the tree. The sun creates the stem of the tree and allows it to grow. Venus, the god of beauty, creates the smell and the colors of the tree. Jupiter, the god of abundance, creates the fruits that we eat from the tree. Finally, Mercury generates the intelligence of the tree, how the tree communicates to other trees through the network. It is the intellect of the tree. The moon creates the leaves of the tree. All physical creation falls under 7 forces. This is why God created the world in 7 days in the Bible. It's symbolic. And there are 7 days of the week. Sunday for the sun, Saturday for Saturn, Monday for the moon. They hide this because you have direct access to these forces and the way you can use them. Jesus never walked on water. It's a symbolic story about how you can become powerful. Water is one of the 4 physical elements. Your soul is incarnated into 4 dimensions. Fire is your spiritual dimension. Earth is your physical body. Air is your mind. Water is your feminine emotions. The water represents the emotional chaos produced by challenging situations in life. Peter was walking on water, but he became scared and fearful and fell into the water. Jesus replied, "Take heart. Do not be afraid." The heart is the emotional brain. Peter then stops being fearful and then eventually walks on the water. It's a story about gaining emotional mastery and not letting our mind produce illusions. It sounds crazy, but I like to remind myself I'm going to die one day, and on my deathbed I'm going to be thinking, why did I fear? Why did I even care? None of it mattered anyway. Life can be difficult, but even more difficult if the mind is weak. You're going to die one day, just give it your best shot. This blew my mind when I discovered this about the Matrix. In the Matrix, Neo's plugged into the Matrix on the back of his neck. If we look at the brain, the back of the neck is the reptilian brain. This could be considered the Matrix, because when one operates the life out of the reptilian brain, they are not conscious of themselves. They act impulsively. They act on instinct, like an animal. I used to be stuck in this brain. I would walk down the street and always think me versus them versus me. Whenever I saw someone, it was always fighting and survival mode thinking. This keeps one stuck in the lower regions of the brain, not allowing to reach their higher potential and higher consciousness, keeping them in a reactive, fearful state, easily controlled by the Matrix. Neo is called Neo. The higher region of the brain is called the neocortex. This region of the brain allows one to have control over their reptilian animal instincts. It allows one to critically think, create, to learn, and overall allows consciousness to operate on a higher degree. Neo woke up from the Matrix and started to use his higher regions of the brain and became self-aware. He was asleep in his reptilian brain in an unconscious state. These 3 levels of the brain could also be considered the 3 first Blue Lodge degrees of Freemasonry. It is the brain that is the computer that allows one to experience physical reality, the way we reach the higher brain. This blew my mind when I found this painting of the Egyptians. It's an image of the universe. It shows one source giving onks to all the different life forms, animals and plants, showing you everything is individual but an expression of God's consciousness, because the symbol of the onk is a symbol of life, consciousness and awareness. But this is what blew my mind. The Egyptians showed a giant onk being given to the humans and smaller onks being given to life, plants and animals, showing you that humans possess a higher consciousness, because humans have a two-way consciousness. We can reflect, look in the mirror, notice impurities, question who we are, where we came from. We can overcome our animal nature and turn to a divine creative nature. Animals cannot. They possess no self-awareness or I. They act solely on instinct and the 5 senses, showing you that humans are literally the living temple of God, and we are all the same consciousness expressed in different bodies. This is why they used a circle, because circles have no beginning, no end. They are one line. They represent unity. We are all part of a greater whole, not separate, but connected via the collective.
Why is it the Egyptians use different animals to represent different gods? This is Thoth. He's the god of wisdom. His head represents an ibis bird. The Egyptians knew the ibis bird searches for food in the mud. And Thoth is the god of wisdom who seeks truth. The mud represents the unknown and the darkness. Searching for food in the mud is symbolic of the effort required to explore and extract meaningful and hidden knowledge. The word thought originates from the word Thoth. The Egyptians purposely used the ibis bird to symbolize the process of trying to find hidden knowledge of the universe and yourself. Maybe Thoth was a real person, but also an allegory, representing our thoughts trying to seek higher hidden knowledge. It scares me to think that people believe the devil is real.
At this point, you should realize the devil is red because red is the lowest frequency color.
So why does the devil wear horns? The horns indicate it's a goat, and goats cannot fly. They're stuck to the ground. The ground in Freemasonry symbolizes earth-based thinking, only aware of the 5 senses, identifying with the ego, thinking you versus me all the time.
This is why your heel is hell and your head is heaven, because the heels touch the ground and that represents low consciousness. Devil rearranged is deveil.
A veil means illusion, something you cannot see past, which is your external physical world, and your ego produces illusions.
Satan is the force of the ego inside your own mind. You know when you feel like you should do something because it's right, but you take an action against that feeling? That is the force of Satan within you. Believing in Satan externalizes all of the negative things you are creating in your reality.
The Vatican is a snake. The snake represents Satan. Snakes are stuck to the ground.
The ground symbolizes the physical world. The ground represents low consciousness, identifying with the ego.
But snakes can shed their skin. They can remove layers and transform the self. This is why we see so much snake symbolism in the old world, because it represents transforming the mind.
From matter, the ego, up to spirit, the higher self. Kundalini is symbolized as a snake, because we're transforming energy to the brain. The snake in the garden transformed the minds of Adam and Eve.
Satan is the ego, and this is the state we need to transform from. All religions show this snake symbolism,
because this was the ancient understanding of transforming consciousness.
Glass-stained windows were not just for decoration. This was a form of technology. The architects understood that the sun is a source of electromagnetic radiation. The sun's rays are a form of vibration and energy. If you shine light through a geometric pattern, the light that comes out the other end takes the form of that frequency, because each frequency possesses its own geometric pattern. By shining light through a sacred healing geometric pattern, it has healing effects on the human aura, which ultimately heals and regenerates your body. Your body pretty much starts vibrating as the same frequency of the geometric pattern if the light rays are touching you. Plus, the windows contain natural materials such as gold chloride, copper oxide, cobalt oxide, and silver nitrate. These were used to glass stain the windows. Natural materials are very healing for the human body. They vibrate on a natural healing frequency. Therefore, these windows were used to transform the light energy of the sun into a specific frequency to heal the human aura and the body. Each one of these geometric patterns is a different frequency, channeling the light of the sun. The ancients were far more advanced than what we are led to believe.
Masturbation is a sin. A sin is not an action against God. The word sin means god of the moon in Mesopotamian. The moon is feminine. The feminine aspect of consciousness is intuition and emotion. She tells you what is right and wrong at all times. An action taken against what you know is right is a sin against your intuition, which leads you down an egoic path of destruction. All actions come from emotions that you felt. A sin is a negative emotion that pulls you down and lowers your consciousness, and it's an action that goes against your intuition. Religion is fear-based control. They want you to fear that you go to hell. To control your physical actions, you feel God's law every single day. You know what is right at all times.